Hello, everyone. We are here. Helen is joining us very shortly, very momentarily. We are here to continue our conversation and wrap up our conversation on listening. So, the month of July, we took on coming from the commitment of listening. If we're committed to really listen, what's going to show up around us? What is listening? What does it look like? What happens when we listen? What are the spaces of listening? These are all things that we explored this past month of July. And last week specifically, we took on what is active listening? What does it look like? How do we actively listen? What shows up when we actively listen? What are our people left with when we actively listen? So that's what we took on last week and this whole month with listening. And Helen is going to join us. Yay, there she is at her camera. And we get to continue this conversation to wrap up and complete our month. And then we get to announce what this month is going to be. Whoa.
Hello.
Here she is. There. So I was just sharing how here we come together to continue and wrap up our conversation on listening, and especially active listening.
I'm so excited.
So I would love to
really
hear,
ready
Helen,
for this conversation. Yeah, I
really
do. Yeah, I hold on. I have to say, hello, Heather Weeks. I just have to say something, people. Today is Szara's birthday. So the first thing I'm going to say is happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, darling Szara. Happy birthday to you. And I love you. And thank you for being the kind of person that I get to do this cool stuff with. Just want you to know that the world is a bigger, brighter, sparklier, better, more vibrant is the word I was looking for, place with you in it. So thank you. And thank you, like, regardless of everything that you're here this morning.
Thank
you.
And
I love you.
Awesome.
Okay.
I love you.
Okay. So
listening.
I know I've had the best time with this listening thing because I keep noticing we am not actually listening, and what I discovered this last week around, and I would really say it's around Adrian, it has to do with, there are times when I don't listen to my man like as this beautiful soul that he is, and if I'm actively listening for him, actually in the conversation for him to win, there's a whole different space, and I love him so much, and sometimes I'm a poo head. And I make it more difficult to communicate. Like, I'm so clear. And when I put aside all those thoughts that are running and actually just listen, man, I'm blown away. Right? And I've had that experience. I will tell you, I've had that experience with my kids over and over and over this week. I've had it, and I would say specifically Mia, where she just keeps showing up like as this beautiful, beautiful soul. And she's irritated sometimes, which I actually really love. I think it's really great when they get irritated by stuff. But really, like, the empathy that I see and hear when I listen with her, I'm just like, thank you, world, for having me have kids, and I get to have these people in my life. Like, that's how the listening has showed up in my life. Like, really, pinch me, yay, this is my life, yay. And sometimes it's really messy, and sometimes my house is really messy, and who cares? I get to spend my life with people that I love, and wow, like that. Am I annoying yet?
Beautiful, enthusiastic energy over there. I see in listening you have energy and love and excitement.
Yeah, but that's out of putting aside my filters for my peeps, Yeah. And actually listening. That's what I would say it is.
Absolutely. One thing I really noticed this week showed up, especially the last couple of days, with listening, it's like I could really listen if what I was communicating was actually like over there with my kids. Like, I could really listen to how they were interpreting things and how they were hearing things. And so it was like, I'm going to just keep moving. I have a little one that keeps wanting to be right beside me, which is awesome.
Of course they do.
To be really on the louder side of life, and I'm not going to be able to even hear my thoughts. So I keep moving. But it's like,
hold on 1 second. Hello, Sarah in South Africa.
Woo-hoo! All the way from South Africa. Hello.
Of course, man. Anyway, sorry, you were trying to say something. So I didn't get it. So can you say it again when you're listening?
So the other night we had a family dinner over here, and I wasn't feeling the best. And and it was really interesting because when I was talking, and I probably wasn't speaking as clearly as I would want to speak because my brain was in a bit of a fog and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I
Mm-hmm.
could really, in listening, I could really hear them of like, did they hear me? Did they get what I was intending for them to get?
Mm.
Like Xander, it was so awesome. He came in and I was going to cook this family dinner and all the boys were there and we just got back from Scotland, so this was our time all back together and it was really exciting. And I'm sick and I'm just like not able to be in the kitchen. And Xander comes in and I just asked Xander like, I really intended to cook this dinner. I'm not available to. Can you make dinner? And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem." And he gets cooking. And I walk by and I'm like, "Hey Xander, I really like thank you for being that person that just like steps in and like takes this on. Like that's so awesome." And he just goes to brush it off. Like, "Oh yeah, no problem." I'm like, "No, no, no." Like I was just like really listening. Did like he really get my communication?
Mm.
And like and
Mm.
just pause and like Xander, you get who you are to me. I just so want you to get who you are to me. Like my
Mm.
communication I want you to have over on you is this. And he really got to hear it. And then there were different interactions in the evening of just like even like the brothers and things and like to come in and I don't know, it just standing and listening, I can hear different things. Like I can hear when like we're in the same conversation or in two different conversations side by side. And
Yeah.
it was really brilliant to be like actually these experiences of being in the same conversation with my kids. Like and like to be asking the kind of questions to check, am I in this conversation?
Mm.
It was really brilliant. Like just different questions, like oriented at listening. There was different questions I was asking my kids. Like, oh, like, is that what you mean? Or, how was that for you? And it just sparked a whole series of extra questions and curiosity to really be with them. It was lovely. And like what came
Yeah.
from that connection and love. Like it was just like we were just in the moment, connection and love.
Isn't that so powerful though?
Hmm.
I just want to give a shout out. Hi, Eli. Okay. But what I'm really hearing you over and over saying is where you're actually side by side in the communication, and that what you are always looking is the communication that you're listening for, is the communication that you're delivering landing? Like, are they actually getting what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
And not stepping over, even in the acknowledgement, not stepping over. Hey, you didn't actually hear how much I appreciate this, so I'm gonna like you gotta get this. Like
I
I want to
know.
lick. Like, you're gonna lick that. I'm gonna lick you till you get this.
Yeah.
Yes, like
Woo,
that.
lift you up.
But that's freaking brilliant.
Yeah, it was lovely. Like it was like love and connection just so present in active
Mm,
listening.
that's delicious. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Well done.
One down thing that showed up, and that's over here with me to be responsible for, but also
Yes.
keeping on listening. It's like I could also see all the spaces others weren't listening. Like I have to say, like Nick, my husband, there were times when he really wasn't listening. And like to the kids, like I'd be sitting there and I could hear what like, I'm really listening to the kids and he's just so not listening. And I have to say, it was like so grating. It's like deep breaths, deep breaths. So, and then, but it was a great opportunity to be like, hey, Nick, just like, look, do you hear what, Reed is really trying to say to you? Do you hear what his
Mm,
communication is?
mm,
And then it
mm,
actually had to like have him pause and hear Reed's
mm,
communication because Nick was
mm.
like, yeah, yeah, and like kind of like tuning it out, walking away. And I'm like, hey, Nick, do you hear what Reed just said to you? And then he actually had to pause. It was great, but it was like probably 10 to 15 times a day I was saying something
Oh my
like
goodness.
and so I'm not sure if
Okay.
that was a good thing or a bad thing, but listening was happening in our house.
Yeah, and there was a real focus on it. So Sarah's saying, how do we deal with teenage self-centeredness? Or aren't your teenagers self-involved? Sorry. Sorry, that was really funny. Yes, my teenagers are self-involved, and I think, I think it's part and parcel of trying to figure out their place in the world, right?
Yeah,
Is like,
I think the first place to come from because it's interesting because it really matters of where you come from right in that moment. It's like
mm,
is teenage self-centeredness a bad thing or a good thing, you know? And it's like if we come from it's a bad thing, it's going to grate at us and we're going to get annoyed by it. We're going to be frustrated. We're going to be trying to fix and change it and like make it something different. When if you actually look at like development in brains and how they develop and go through the ages and stages, it's like they're actually supposed to be really self-absorbed. Like they're really supposed to
They're
be.
wired.
Yeah, and it's totally irritating. Yes, I
It
think.
is irritating, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
I know for myself, like when my guys can get really like about themselves, it's interesting because one son in particular tends to be a bit more triggering to me that way. And it's interesting because oh sorry, I lost my train of thought because I got off on how I get triggered.
You were
But
saying though,
but
yeah.
it can be really irritating. First thought that pops up into my head as soon as like he's about himself or he's like I have the experience like he's making me wrong or
Mm,
like he's the first thought that comes to my head is oh he's so unappreciative.
mm,
Like he so doesn't appreciate me. He so doesn't even see any of the things I do. Like nothing I
mm-hmm.
could do can be enough. And it's just all about him and never about me. And like it's like these thoughts just keep popping in really fast. Oh, the you ungrateful bugger, you know, kind of like that. Oh,
Yes,
and
yes.
it's like interesting because I can react to that, and like that will cause a certain step of actions. Like if I follow that bread trail,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
yeah, and I have followed that bread trail. Trust me, I have gone that
Me too.
pathway several times. And all it gets to is us butting heads. Love and connection doesn't get to be present. He doesn't appreciate me any more than I want him to appreciate me. And I don't really appreciate him any more than I want to appreciate him.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
coming back to, you know what? It's actually perfect. You know what? He's perfectly imperfect. I'm perfectly imperfect. Actually, I'd like to say imperfectly perfect is probably even a better way to say it.
Mm,
And you know, he's doing exactly what he needs to do as a teenager. And I can still say to myself or say to him, like, hey, like, you know, if it's really something snippy or if it's really inappropriate, I can still like communicate what's there for me, but in a way that doesn't make him wrong for it, in a way that's
yes.
over here like me. Like, hey, I I'm really reacting to that. I'm like taking that really personal right now, you know, or like, ouch, that really hurts, or, you know,
Mm,
whoa, I really want to hear you. And I'm having a hard time hearing that communication because all I'm hearing is, Mom, you suck. And that triggers me because I work hard, you know, and sometimes like it's verbalizing those thoughts out loud, but making it like
mm,
I and not you.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I would just say, I had that conversation last night with one of mine who was like saying something, and I was like, wow, right in that moment when you say it like that, I'm left over here. Like I'm not good enough and I'm not doing it the right way. And like those blue eyes looked straight back at me. And what I could see is like that was not what was intended. It's not about being good, Sarah. It's not about being good, hun.
Oh,
That's
you're
where
going
the
to mess this up a
misnomer is.
million times over and you're going to get a million more times to practice.
Exactly. And
And I
it's
don't
not
mean
about
that in
being
a bad
good.
way.
No,
Yeah, it's
it's
all
but
perfect.
it really is. And I think the opportunity is really what Sarah was saying, was in the world of like all we have. Okay, so we have this moment. No, listen, you're amazing. You're not allowed to demean yourself, Sarah. No, Sarah. No, I'm gonna get the Sarah, no, hold on, hang 10. It's what Sarah was pointing to. All we have in the moment is what we're actually committed to. So that's why we actually took the step back and said, okay, so what is it? Yes, we are doing classes. I love it. Okay, you're segueing right into what we're bringing up today.
Yeah, because it's interesting to come from our commitment moment to moment. It really takes something. You know, our
Yes, it
reaction
does.
is right there, and it's a normal, valid reaction. You know, we're
And
humans
there's
with
actually
feelings.
even nothing wrong about it.
No,
It's just
if
that it
anything,
leaves us with something,
it leaves
right?
us with something, and it teaches our kids stuff too, like good or bad. It's a great learning opportunity for ourselves and our kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
So, yeah.
yeah, and
So,
it's
Sarah,
sorry, we keep talking,
so
but
I
let
just
you
want to
go ahead.
say, no, but I just want to say, like, what we are out to do is actually create online classes, like a digital subscription. Yeah, yes, a digital subscription service where we literally each month take on a topic. And yes, where we parent from, and that's why we called ourselves Committed Parent, is actually our commitment and being, yeah, you said, being conscious about our commitment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. Sarah,
Yeah, because
come
so
on.
often we go through the moment and the day by day, and we're just like the circumstances have us. Like whatever gets thrown at us, we get hooked by it. Our kids, say something,
Yes,
we get hooked and we get taken
yes,
out and we go down some reaction train. Like, I'm very a highly reactive person. Ooh. and and I'm not satisfied with myself at the end of the day when I go into reaction.
exactly.
And my kids, I'm not satisfied what they get left with. And it's fine. And it, like, what they're resilient. It's awesome. It's a learning experience regardless for them. But I would really like something where at the end of the day, I'm complete, satisfied, and fully fulfilled. And I'm confident that my kids, get how much they're loved and connected.
Yeah,
And that's really important to me. So that's the big reason why Helen and I have done this is we find when we come from our commitment, when we can make our commitment so available right here front and center, it's like our lifeline. It gives us somewhere to come
it
from.
is.
It pulls us,
Over
it
and
gives
over
us
and
an
over.
out from being hooked.
Yeah,
And that's why we're up to
well
this.
said. Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's why. So Sarah and I are really out to have this digital like subscription service that we actually take it on month by month with a bunch of cool activities that go with it. And
Yeah.
we're a little behind our schedule, aren't we? Sorry.
Yeah. Summer happened.
But so where we are, that's the game we're like a game. I don't mean it like that, but that's the game we're playing is to actually have this be as a subscription service that we can actually take this on and in depth, like explore
Yeah.
and have a structure to support that. Yeah,
Yeah, because the
sorry.
more this conversation is front and center to you, the more you're actually engaged in the conversation of what's your commitment? Like really, what's your commitment? And you get to get really related with it and related to how you react and related to what your
Yeah,
commitment is. The more muscle you're going to have around it. And you know what, you're
yeah.
going to have more moments to celebrate, more moments where you're left really satisfied. And yeah, it just
And
pulls
that's
you.
it. But that's it, right? You're saying being accountable, yeah, but for ourselves, right? Like that we at
Yeah.
the end of the day feel like, okay, I can actually go to bed, like, and put my head on the pillow and not think of myself as sorry, an asshole. I'm saying it out loud, you know? But like
Mhm.
really, because that was the thing that drove me so much of my parenting when the kids were small, is like going to bed and feeling like a not sufficient parent, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not what I want to leave my kids with either, because then that's who I'm modeling. That's what I'm modeling for them. And that's pooey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
so,
I don't want
and so
another
really,
parent to go to bed at night again like that. Like I really don't.
no,
Like
no,
it is a really crappy, despairing feeling to go to bed so unsatisfied with the parent you are and thinking those thoughts about yourself because it is so freaking not true. And we get really wrapped into it being like the truth.
yeah, like sucked into a
Yeah.
vortex. That was
No.
my vortex sound, just in case you were drinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So this month, so last month we took on listening. And that's all the things that got to show up. And it's neat because every month by taking on another kind of commitment, it doesn't have to be your commitment, but you get to try on these commitments. What could these commitments offer? What would be available? And you get to kind of
hmm
practice some tools and get some skills that you get to keep in your back pocket that you can call out forevermore. And this
I like
coming
to
month,
think of them as like a can opener, you
a
know,
can opener. Ooh, okay.
we're using.
A can of worms. What are we opening? um, oh, sorry. How are partners doing?
Heard
Yeah,
Sarah say her
all
husband.
this conversation, Sarah, is so great for partners. Like it's really great for any important person in your life and how you interact with them. So whether it be your kids and your family, with your partner, all of these kind of conversations can come forward, which is great.
And that you get to create these conversations with them, right? It's not just about us driving something, but what are they committed to leaving with their kids? Because I think, you know, Adrian and I had a lot of conversations about like what we wanted for our kids. And then life gets busy, and then we don't actually draw those conversations back. So what are you actually committed to? Because I'm clear there have times where Adrian has not felt like the parent he wanted to be, right? That he wasn't satisfied with who he was being.
Yeah.
Did the dads buy in? Yes, hands
Yeah.
down. Mine has.
Yeah. And if
and
they don't,
and I
at
know
first
who Nick
they
is.
will. Like it's a conversation, you being in the conversation, and it's interesting. Like it is an engaging conversation,
It
which is
really is.
lovely. Lovely.
And I think like just by and large, like even in society, we're expecting our dads to parent so much more, like even than in my dad's generation, or the generation that came after him, right? And so I see over and over get dads like being expected to do more and then kind of not have the same kind of space to talk about like how to parent. Like I've seen that so much, right? Or how to be the dad they want to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why I think this is so accessible, because it's just a matter of like taking a step back and then taking on what am I really committed to, and then okay, now I have a place to stand. And
And
it's
it
not
really,
fancy.
yeah, and it really gives you, regardless if you have babies,
Mm-hmm.
5-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds, teenagers,
20-year-olds.
children, like it really, like coming from your commitment is that like it's where it's
It
at.
is, because you know what else I'm going to say to you? Because now I have kids with girlfriends in the house. Like it's the same thing. Like I am so clear, like what I'm interested in. And I get to be, I'm going to just say it this way. I get to be the mother-in-law I didn't know I could be, right? Out of
Mhm.
standing in these spaces. I don't mean like they married to them. I just mean in the world of them in my life, that I can just love those freaking humans up.
Yeah.
So much. And they can just be in my house because I'm committed to that being there, right?
Love it. Yeah, the kind of conversations we get to have are brilliant. It's beautiful, magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
All
I know.
right, so this
Okay.
month, August, here we are. It's a new month. It's a new day. It's a new month. Here we go.
I know. Here we go, babe. So,
Okay,
what are we taking on?
so drum roll. It's so perfect for August. It is adventure. Duh. So it's like coming from adventure, and it's like interesting
Yes.
because we think adventure is some like outcome. Like, how can it be a
Yes.
commitment on a way to be? Like,
Yeah.
seriously, that's what you
I know.
do. It's what you do. It's not who you be.
Exactly.
But no, no, we say we can try on being adventure. And what does being adventure look like? And how does coming from adventure look like? And so this month in August, we get to take on all the spaces of coming from adventure. And what does that look like? What does it
I
offer?
know. I know. Can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
so here
and
we go. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, you know what I hear right there when we say, how does it be to be like be in adventure, right? Or be adventurous, is that there's this whole fresh take again, right? Hey,
Mhm.
how am I going to show up freshly? So this actually is an adventure. You're making me laugh so much, Sarah. It's so awesome. Thank you. Okay, what were you going to say, hun?
Yeah, no, and it's like it's showing up in many spaces for us here because it's committed parenting. We are bringing adventure to committed parenting. So this month is going to be really
Indeedy.
interesting. It's we may or may not be on every Friday. We're going to be trying a bunch of different things on this month. We're trying on, we want to do some question and answer videos. We might want to do some interview videos.
Yes.
We might want to
Guest
do,
interviews.
yeah, so we're taking like a fresh look of like, ooh, what are some other things that we can bring in? What's needed and wanted? What's going to really elevate this conversation or make the biggest impact for people that are listening? And we're going to be adventurous about it.
Wah-ha!
Yes.
So,
So it's going to be a little bit different than it's been. And so stay tuned.
and you can always, always, always reach us, right? We
Mhm.
have a page, please, and
Yeah,
you can feel free to like do the little personal message in there too, right? If you want to just, you don't
absolutely.
want it out loud, please feel free to get hold of us. But
Yeah.
really, we so love this conversation, and we're so hard committed to it. Come play with us, and let's
Yeah.
just take this to the next level.
So join a committed parenting group, and that's where you get to ask the questions. You get to be part of the conversation. We can take on adventure there. We're going to still be having videos this month. They're just going to be at maybe some different times and spaces with different ideas thrown in with it. But we're really
Mm-hmm.
out to be in an adventure with you. So we all get to take on adventure. And what does that look like? And coming soon is going to be that digital subscription release coming before the end of this month. It's going to be out there and released to the world. So you get to come on an adventure with us. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And Sarah, thank you so much for your participation. You
Yeah,
know,
thank
you
you for
make
the
the
conversation.
videos. Oh, it's
Beautiful.
so awesome. Like, really. So, thank you for being that kind of human who takes on something and just jumps in, adventurous. Oh, okay. So much love. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.